we don't communicate very well sometimes. And so several years ago, when you guys came up with this idea about, what did we call it first? Tweet ups. Tweet ups. I mean, we found right away that they were like magic, because instead of us reaching 300 people who came to a launch, or maybe a few thousand people that could watch it on NASA TV, we were now reaching millions of people, literally millions of people around the world. And so that's what you do. You are the eyes and ears of people around the world with whom you communicate. And so my advice to you, if you haven't done this before, be yourself. If you're passionate and you cry, and you can describe it in words, how you cry. I cry all the time. So I'm not a good person. As an example of how to be stoic at times like this, because I am never stoic at times like this. It's emotional for me, and I think it ought to be, if you can be, and if you have a way to write about how passionate it is, or how emotional it is for you, then do that. If you can't, then just say, we're here and it's going. And they told me it would be big and loud and it would make a lot of light, and that's true. even that's okay, all right? So now I talked enough about why you're important and all that, but since I'm here, anybody have any questions that I can answer about what we're doing, why we're doing it, all that other stuff?
When are we going to get to Mars?
Well, good question. Dr. Jim Green back there in the back and I are, we're working really hard to get humans to Mars in the 2030s. That's what the president's asked us to do. And if you ask me, I think we're pretty much on track to do that. We have a number of challenges. One is radiation. The other one is just speed. We probably will not have the speed that we would like to have, that we would ideally like to have when we go to Mars in the 2030s. We've got some people that are working on some revolutionary kinds of propulsion, but not fast. And that's not true. We do have, I know of at least one person down at the Johnson Space Center who actually believes that warp speed is attainable. And some of you have probably read about Dr. White or something like that. We don't know. But for now, we're planning to go to Mars with conventional propulsion, which means it'll take humans about 8 months to get there. And then you'll spend a year or so either in Martian orbit or on the surface, just depending on how far the technology has taken us at that time. And then about 8 months to come back. So it's in the neighborhood.
I've got a big hole in my calendar that.
I wouldn't give up on it. I really wouldn't. And then, to be quite honest, although it's a long shot, a real long shot, we collaborate with a lot of the entrepreneurial guys. And some of you may have read about a group called Inspiration Mars. A guy named Dennis Tito, who used to be a NASA engineer, is now sort of an entrepreneur. Spent some time on the International Space Station. And Dennis is working with a group called Inspiration Mars, and they really think that they can do what they call a free return mission, where you just put 2 people in a vehicle and send them out, let them free fly around Mars and come back. And it's about a year and a half. That's pretty dicey, but we're giving them the benefit of all the engineering expertise we have, and I don't count anybody out. So you never know. Yeah.
I've got another question.
Yes.
What if China goes to Mars in the next decade? Not Mars, to Moon. Are we going to try and keep up with China?
I can only tell you what my hope is. My hope is that as many nations as possible, as many people as possible, will try to do these challenging things that we've done. It will be great when a second nation is able to get humans on the moon, not because it will keep us going. We actually need the data. In order to go to Mars, and Jim's a planetary guy and all this, but I think he and I agree on one thing. One of the challenges in sending humans to Mars is, what do we do with radiation? That's a known challenge. The other one is, because of some of the things that we've been seeing on the International Space Station, there are other phenomena like increased intracranial pressure. That's a big frequent, it's a big lot of words, where just more pressure inside the skull than is normally there, and it squeezes down on the optic nerve. And what I learned just the other day is it not only squeezes down on the optic nerve, but it actually potentially would damage just neurons getting to your extremities. So we want to make sure that we understand that fully. It would be awesome to have someone on the moon for a month, so that we could see if there are any cases of it, so that we understand whether that's a 0G phenomenon or whether it's a less than 1G phenomenon. Because when we get to Mars, it's 3Hg. or something like that. So, you know, it would be great to have anybody go to them. And all I want to do is, we'll help them, but I want to have an astronaut from the U.S. on it.
We're all one human race in space.
I think it's, you know, anything we do will be, I think it will be.
Actually, building on what you just said, do you feel that these, not only the international space programs, but also the American corporate partners, is it becoming a partnership, or is this sparking a new space race?
There is a space race, but it's not a national space race. It is a corporate space race, absolutely.
It's exciting.
And it's very exciting. When we look at, for example, we have 3 companies right now that are the leaders, and I say they're the leaders because they're the ones that we are semi-contractually involved with. Boeing, SpaceX, and Sierra Nevada in building the next human-rated spacecraft to supply the International Space Station. When we put a proposal out this coming fall, that's open to anyone. So although the 3 front runners have been these 3 companies that we have been contractually involved with over the last 5 or 6 years, anybody can apply. And so it could be a Lockheed, it could be Joe Jones and his family company. And then they will put a proposal in, and we'll evaluate the proposals, and the best proposal will be selected. And we hope it'll be 1, 2, maybe 1.5, or something like that, companies that keep us competitive to take humans, take Americans, maybe, to the international space. So that's where the space race is, and that's where it ought to be, I think. We're enjoying it.
Why down select?
Why? Money. It's simply, when we go to the next phase, like right now we're using what is called an other transactional authority, and it's for some of you who are attorneys or people like this, it's another form of contractual arrangement with a company, but it's not under the federal acquisition regulations, so it's not stringent at all. They can do what they want to do, the way they want to do it. We just kind of monitor them and get as much information from them as we can to feel comfortable about their processes and the like. And then, but we can't buy a service from someone unless it's within inside the criteria of a federal acquisition regulation, a formal contract. So when we go to the formal contract, you've got to have money to pay that contract. And right now, the Congress has not agreed with the president. So instead of granting $1 billion for commercial space, we started out at nothing. And then we migrated up to 400 million, and now we hope to get up to, you know, maybe 700 million when the next budget comes out, whenever that happens. And we're just behind and don't have the funds to stay with 3 providers the way we would like to. I'm glad to hear you ask why down select, because the battle we have with Congress is they want us to down select now to 1. And that takes you down. Competition among 1 is no competition. And so the price goes sky high, probably. So competition is really important. That one of the great values, one of the things we've really learned from commercial cargo and now commercial crew, is that when you have competition, the cost does go down somewhat. It may not be astronomically down, but it's a lot less than it would cost if we were doing it, sole sourcing it, and NASA just doing it the way we did the space shuttle. The other thing is it frees us up from being responsible for operations and maintenance and the like. We're just buying a service. So right now, Antares is getting ready to fly in 11 days. Yeah. That'll be Orbital Science's first cargo mission to the International Space Station. The only thing we're going to pay them once they get on contract is per flight. We'll pay them for, you know, a flight and the amount of cargo that goes up, and how much it costs them to operate. That's their problem, and that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah. So, next question.
What are you most excited? What are you most excited about with the future of NASA?
Boy, I'll tell you, that's a glue. There's so many things about which I'm excited. I'm a pilot, for one thing. So I am probably, if I think about things that are coming real soon, or relatively soon, I am really, really, really excited about the potential for us to find a way to mitigate sonic booms coming back down to Earth so that we can get supersonic flight across land again. You know, the commercial, some of the commercial airplane companies would love to see us do that, because it would mean that they can go and start back in building supersonic transport, supersonic cargo. And we're really close. We've been running tests for the last couple of years out at Edwards Air Force Base, Dryden Flight Research Center, and a program that we call,
Next shift?
No. It's the low boom. It's sort of a nickname. But low boom is helping us to determine what the shape of an airfoil needs to be, or the shape of the engine nacelle needs to be to cause this. You can't stop the sonic boom, but you can deflect it upwards and out into space, and that's what we're trying to do. That's one thing about which I'm very excited. I am really excited about the work we're doing again with FAA and the Department of Defense, and now a number of international partners in air traffic management, improving the systems that get airplanes from point A to point B. For example, we've developed some software systems that enable airlines to take off from one airport, climb out without leveling, doing intermediate level-offs, fly to a designated airport. They talk to each other using systems that are already available, something called ADSB that uses GPS and others. An airplane knows where 100 airplanes around it are. It says, okay, how many of you are going out to San Francisco International? All the airplanes say we are. And the guy looks around. This is airplanes talking to airplanes. And it says, okay, I'm out front, everybody fall in line behind me. And they get themselves in line going across the country. They maneuver themselves around thunderstorms and everything. So you don't have air traffic controllers vectoring airplanes, all the way around thunderstorms, and they come around the other end, and things all confusing, and you go in circles while they try to unscramble it again. It's much more organized. We've realized already savings of hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel per year with airlines that have been involved in our tests. So I'm excited about those. I'm really excited about tonight because LADEE is going to the moon, and it's a place that all of you know and love. It is one of the challenges of NASA to try to go to all the places that humans want to go. We've been to the moon with humans, and sometimes people say, yeah, we've been there, done that. Not so. There's no place in our solar system that we've been there, done that, and we can say we don't need to go anymore. We really do need to go back to the moon, but right now, the path on which we're going with humans is first to an asteroid, hopefully by 2025 with our asteroid retrieval mission, which is doing something that's never been done before in NASA anyway. It's bringing all of our directorates together. It's bringing space technology in because we need things like real high energy solar cells to power the solar electric propulsion that's going to be used to get our spacecraft to and from planets much more efficiently than we can do today with chemical engines. We're using the science community because we need to know about asteroids. Oh, by the way, we're also looking at with the asteroid mission, if we're successful and we find that we can manage to maneuver an asteroid into lunar orbit where we can put it and then later bring a crew up so that we can have astronauts interact with the asteroid. Guess what we've demonstrated? That we can deflect an asteroid that's inbound to Earth. I'm not a save the planet person. That's not our job, but our job is to develop the technology that we can make available to the National Command Authority so they can decide when we find that there is an Earth-threatening asteroid that we can do something other than just sit there and watch and pray. Like I told members of Congress once, what would we do today if it came? We pray, because that's all we can do. LADEE is going to help us understand a lot more about the moon than we've ever understood before. We've not looked at dust from the perspective that we're going to be able to do with LADEE. It has a lot of potential to help us on an international scale. You asked about other countries wanting to go to the moon. As we look at dust and use LRO to look at potential landing sites and the like, we can help other nations, whether they're partners or not, if they want to come to us and get help in determining where's a decent landing site. We can help as a consultant in that. We can help tell them whether or not their vehicle landed successfully on the surface of the moon, something that trivial. There have been a lot of countries that have tried to go to Mars, for example. There's been one other country other than the United States that has landed on Mars. No one has landed successfully. A successful landing is when you get there in one piece and then you can talk back to Earth. Only one nation has been able to do that, and Jim Green can tell you about all of them, and that's been the United States. But we would love to see other nations be able to say, by virtue of working with NASA, we've been able to do it. If you look at Curiosity, one of the things that's just absolutely fascinating about it is there are now 5 other nations who sit on Mars along with us. That has never happened before. Granted, they're there with just a little piece because the Russians have a radiometer, a radiation measuring instrument that took radiation measurements all the way from Earth to Mars, and now take measurements while it's on the Martian surface. The big stem that stands up, you know, the mast, with James Cameron's cameras on the top. How many of you saw Avatar? The cameras up there. How many of you knew that James Cameron, his company, built the cameras? But the whole mast was built by the Spaniards, and it's the Astrobiology Center outside of Madrid, Spain. It's a weather station, so it has anemometers. It can tell you wind speed direction, atmospheric pressure on Mars, temperature, both air and surface.
Does it take a siesta?
You name it, and it can do that stuff.
Does it take a siesta a couple of days?
It does. You need to ask Jim about this. Curiosity takes a siesta every night. Every, what do you call a night sol? A sol is a day, but is the sol the whole equivalent of a 24-hour day on Earth? Okay, so the night part of the sol, it takes a nap. And we feed it information so that it can go out autonomously the next day and right now start climbing Mount Sharp pretty soon. So you asked me what time it was and I told you how many it was. But those are just a few of the things that excite me. I'm really excited all the time about this stuff, the fantastic stuff we're doing. And I didn't even talk about humans. So we're on the International Space Station every single day for the last 13 years. It's a mini United Nations. You know, we're there with the Japanese, with the Russians, with 19 European nations. It's incredible what's going on there. And every day we're discovering something that's making life better for humans here on Earth. We now have some Earth science experiments on the International Space Station. We've never done that before. We're looking at putting a heliophysics experiment on the International Space Station that will help us learn a little bit more about the sun from that vantage point. So lots of good stuff. Okay, question right here. I'm sorry. You're sitting right here and I couldn't see.
No, that's okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you for hugging one of our teachers.
Family of teachers.
Well, and that's cool because I mean, like, you know, as a country, we don't hug our teachers enough, and to see the head of NASA doing just that's the message from the top down.
Is my wife back there in the back?
Yeah, she went out.
She went out. My wife's mom and dad were teachers and then principals. My mom and dad were teachers. My mother was a librarian at elementary, middle school. I'm saying all this to say I watched them growing up.
Me too.
And I thought about being a teacher, and I said, no way. They worked too hard, they made too little, and back then they were appreciated when I was growing up, unlike today. And I said, I just can't do that. And my wife and I both made it. So I honor you all for what you do. I appreciate it because, I mean, you're who make us what we are.
Well, you know, we kind of dovetail on that. You know, education and public outreach funding has been cut.
Nope,
by this
not yet.
No? Okay.
Not yet.
But it's facing cuts and so forth.
Everything's, and don't worry about it.
Right.
Let me take your mind off one thing.
Okay.
Don't worry about education and public outreach going away from NASA. Ain't gonna happen. All right.
So
We are going to. Hold on. I don't want you to go and say, okay, you know, Charlie Bolden said the president's budget this, or Congress hasn't written a budget yet. But in our conversations, we in the administration and the Congress feel that STEM education in the United States has to be improved. Yeah. It can be improved, but we need to do it in an orderly fashion. Dr. John Bolden, who's the President's Science Advisor, he has a team of people called CoSTEM. And some of you may have heard about it. They've been working on STEM education modifications for 2 years now, and there's a report that's come out. We'll go to Congress. And I think what's going to happen is you'll see us migrate more away from the original proposal toward what is called CoSTEM. And you'll still see a lot of revisions in the way we do education and public outreach. We are not, my vision, okay? Right now, every single project that NASA launches out of science has to do education and public outreach. Every single project, one, can't afford it, although we make them pay for it, and every single project's not motivated to do that. There is, as teachers, those of you who are teachers, everybody can't teach. Everybody may want to teach, but everybody can't. We have some incredible program managers who love STEM education, and I would like to see us consolidated more inside the Science Mission Directorate, inside Human Exploration, get the best of all worlds, and then, focus our STEM education so we take the best of all the practices we have. But STEM education is not going away from NASA. So I don't want anybody to, I know there was a hue and cry, we got it, okay? And it is not going to happen.
Yep. We got time for one more.
Okay, two.
Okay.
Since I just saw 4 hands. Way back there, and then I'll come up.
You thanked us, and I have to thank you. This has been an extraordinary experience. This is my second NASA social, and it's been wonderful. Everyone, it's great to see the enthusiasm at all the people of NASA and how just invested they are still in all the programs that you have. It's been great to meet the participants, to enjoy this, to share this geeky part of all of our personalities with people, and to see how many folks really respond and appreciate it. So thank you very much.
No, I appreciate the comment. I sincerely mean it when I say we really appreciate you all being here. If we didn't have you, there are millions of people that we would not reach. You got to think about it. Okay, how many people are on your tweet list? I'm not a tweeter, okay? But how many people do you follow or follow you?
I follow a little over 200. I have.
And who's in the tens of thousands? Somebody's here. There's one back there. Okay.
My goodness.
Your 200, his whatever many thousands.
And
I
we've
have
got
lots
some
of
brand new people
Facebookers.
too. So.
On a normal
and
prior to
Facebook.
NASA socials.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, we reached the few people who were there for the launch, and with shuttle, it was usually thousands of people.
Uh-huh.
But national TV had stopped carrying most of the things unless something went wrong. CNN carried it at launch and maybe landing. You all are here real time, and you're communicating with millions of people around the world, and that's what's most important. So there will be people who will, hopefully, if you tweet what I said, there will be people in other countries who said, yeah, I'm looking forward to them landing on the moon and stuff like that, and I intend for them to take an American astronaut because that's what I mean. And I think it's really important for us to work cooperatively and collaboratively with our international partners. Anybody can be a partner. The one great thing, one phenomenal thing about the International Space Station, how many of you follow what goes on in the world in terms of international relations? What kind of terms are we on with Russia right now? You would not know that when you look at the way that we operate on the International Space Station. I mean, we are one team. If one nation is having trouble, if we have trouble at the Johnson Space Center with communications, not even batting an eye, communications responsibility transfers to Moscow. If they have trouble, it transfers up to Germany or something like that. It is literally a mini United Nations, and that's what makes it so great. And that's, I think, 2 things I'll tell you that were the crowning achievements of the space station program and the shuttle program, and they're not technical. The crowning achievement of the space shuttle program, which was a phenomenal 30 years, is it brought us diversity to the space program that we had never seen before. I would have never been standing here where I am today had it not been for the space shuttle. I wasn't going to fly on Apollo. We flew test pilots and test pilots only, and test pilots came from one set of people and one set of people only. With shuttle, we opened up the opportunity to fly to people from all walks of life. We flew school teachers. We were working on flying lots of different people. Today, if you look at the group of 8 astronauts that we just selected in the 2013 group, they are the most diverse group that NASA has ever selected for anything. I defy anybody to show me another group of anything that is 50% women. I just don't think you can do it. Now, I could be wrong, because I don't know everything in the world. And we did not set out to do that. We were looking for parity, if you will. We were just looking for everybody to have an equal chance. And you figure, okay, on average, you're going to get, out of 8, you may get 1, 2 women. Who knew we'd come up with 4? And they are absolutely incredible, every single one of them. Every single one of the 8. I'm not just singling out the women. So that's what shuttle did. What the International Space Station has done is it has brought peace and prosperity to a significant number of nations of the world that prior to that wouldn't even talk to each other, and some still don't talk to each other down here on Earth. But it has represented a way for nations to come together for a common cause, work collaboratively, work through problems, and come to decisions that, you know, where you compromise. Nobody ever gets their way.
Because they're scientists,
Yeah.
not politicians.
No, they're not. We have. I'm not gonna let you beat up on my friends, the politicians. They may not be functioning right now, which I will say that they're not functioning very well. But it's because of the politicians that we have an International Space Station. Because, you know, I always tell people, the president proposes, he writes the budget, and then the Congress disposes. They write the check. And if they're not functioning right, then, I mean, and you can look at what's going on right now. The reason we're kind of up and down about what we're doing is because that system is broken down a little bit. But I am the eternal optimist, and I really think that, you know, we will begin to work together again like we work on the International Space Station. If we do it in space, we can do it down here. Last question. That's right, I promised you.
Going back to the teacher, I know we put a teacher on the shuttle. Is there a possibility of doing so on the International Space Station?
We already have, you know, and you will see teachers fly as members of space station crews. You'll see teachers fly, but you're going to find that they're not going to be singled out because they're teachers. Teachers are going to apply for the space program, and they're going to be selected on their merits. Joe Acaba, I know Joe was a middle school math teacher, and Joe was selected to be an astronaut. Joe wasn't selected because he was a teacher. We were looking specifically to make sure that if there were the way you do it is you say, if there is a qualified teacher, then we want them considered. They may not get selected, but we want everybody to have a fair opportunity to be selected. I think any teacher, you know, a literature teacher is probably going to be difficult for some time, because the basic criteria to become an astronaut is an undergraduate technical background with 3 years of operational experience. Today it's much more difficult than when I came in, because they have to have a propensity to learn foreign languages. In fact, they do, you know, language, what do you call these tests?
Proficiency.
Tests. The 8 that were selected, because they scored very well on language aptitude, on robotic operation aptitude, on spacewalk aptitude, and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have to do any of that. In fact, I'm not very good with foreign languages. If I had to prove that I could learn a foreign language, I would not have been an astronaut. I think teachers will be an integral part of the space program from here on out. And
so where do I sign up?
It's
USA
USAjobs.gov. Seriously. I kid you not. And if you don't, you know, if you don't apply, I can guarantee you one thing: you won't be selected. Okay. Thank you all.